them through Turkish borders in trucks, not in pipelines, because there are no pipelines, in trucks to the Turkish port, Jihan, and from there to Israel. And they take back the money from there. The Americans know all such facts. So you will ask me, what about these bombings of the so-called Daesh positions inside Syria or Turkey? They just want to contain Daesh, to make it in certain limits, but they use it to destabilize the Arab world, to destroy the Arab national states, to disintegrate the Arab armies.
Yes.
Why? So as just one state will stay strong in the Middle East, called Israel. And this is the American strategy.
Yes. Well, Ambassador Farag, now, a lot of people who welcomed the airstrikes by the Egyptian Air Force in Libya on Daesh targets, now they said that this will probably not be the end. It's not just one airstrike or one campaign and it'll be over. However, it will start a cycle of violence, and the Daesh terrorist groups will actually kidnap more Egyptians. They promise that there will be attacks taking place in Sinai as well, and it will just start a whole a new cycle of violence that Egypt will be dragged in. It started off with the Air Force conducting the airstrikes. Some people are even assuming that there will be military intervention on the ground at some point as well. Now, a lot of people are also concerned about Egypt's internal security in light of the war on terror taking place in Sinai and the war on Daesh taking place in Libya as well. Do you think that this will jeopardize the internal security as well?
No, I think this will not jeopardize the situation in Egypt by any means, because we have a very strong army. Our military forces are alert, and I think it's the only military forces in the region capable of combating Daesh. And our intelligence services, they are really following Daesh movement in Libya and in Derna since 2012, as they went and stationed there and began to make a sort of state linked to Al-Qaeda and so on. All these groups really, they are really branches of Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda began in Afghanistan, then the second move of Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the third in Syria for the time being, led by Daesh. And those factions, Ansar al-Sunnah, Ansar al-Din, Ansar Bayt al-Maqdis, all these are tributaries of the Qaeda, and if we remember what happened in Afghanistan, they moved to Iraq. Abu-Mus'ab al-Zarqawi began his activities in Iraq, and then he was really bombed by the Americans and killed, and even his follower was bombed as well and killed in that area. And they are not really saving any opportunity except to assert their effort to make sure that they will recuperate the Khilafah, the Islamic Khilafah as they feign.
Yes.
So we are facing this danger since the year 2012. Nearby our borders, it's no more than 70 kilometers from our borders to Derna. And they are stationed there, and really they are ready to form. And our tutor can tell you that they were preparing a sort of army aiming attacking Egypt after that, and they are there is a close relation and cooperation between those terrorists in Sinai and everywhere around us, and maybe in Sudan, maybe in other places else. And there was agreements between Morsi's regime and Al-Qaeda leader in Afghanistan, really to move on and try to debilitate what they say, the kafir or the heathen regimes in the area.
Yes. Dr. Zaki, now the United States already tried to convince Egypt of joining the coalition against Daesh and helping out with the airstrikes on Daesh in Libya. And the president said no, to start with. Now, do you feel that it was inevitable that Egypt would join these airstrikes for the greater cause, or at least triggered by the killing of the 21 Egyptians? And now that Egypt is involved in the situation in Libya with Daesh, what is there for the United States to gain? Why did they want Egypt to be there in the first place? And now that Egypt is there involved, what is it? What is in it for the United States?
First of all, the United States of America must admit that we are fighting against terrorism, and that the so-called Muslim Brotherhood group is a terrorist group. Why I say so? Because if you remember, in the speech of President Obama in the United Nations last September, he talked about terrorism. But intentionally, he ignored that there is terrorism in Egypt. He didn't mention just one word. The same thing was repeated in his speech recently in the Congress, in the so-called the state of the address of the state. So we trying to, I believe, deceive himself concerning it, is that what is going on in Egypt is not a terrorism. It's not terrorism at all, but a political opposition. Now, he is lying, because since 1928, this organization of the Muslim Brotherhood has a bloody history of terrorism, assassinations, explosions, killings here and there, a long history. Now, any country in the world, any people in the world will not go one step forward unless he must learn from his history and from his previous experiences. We learned such experiences. We are not ready to repeat the same mistakes, to open the door to those who are trying to pretend that they are the representatives of God, of religion. There is no any sort of relation between them and religion, but they use religion to take power, as they did here in Egypt recently. Now, unless Obama admits that Al-Qaeda, the Muslim Brotherhood organization, Beit al-Maqdis, Jabhat al-Nusra, Daesh, so on, so on, so, are all of them the same organization with different names for tactical reasons, unless he admits this, so we will conclude rightly that he is not serious in combating terrorism.
But why did he want the Egyptian forces to intervene and be a part of the war on Daesh to begin with?
He wanted us to go and fight in Syria. The real reason of the fight in Syria was not to topple Bashar al-Assad, as they try to convince us. And don't believe that they are trying to propagate democracy or human rights. Not true. They want to destroy the Syrian national state and to destroy the army who fought with us in October war. And to make 4 states from the Syrian state. A Durzi state, Alawi Shia state, Sunni state, Kurdish state, 4. And I want to remind you that the Vice President of the United States now, Joe Biden, when he was still member of the Congress, just a short time before being a Vice President, he himself introduced a bill to the Congress demanding the partitioning of Iraq to 3 states. That is the U.S. plan in this region.
So it was, so would you say that they would want Egypt to actually be involved in this war in Syria or Libya as well, to in a way drain the resources of the Egyptian military?
Look, my friend, I'll tell you more frankly. The recent researches published in America and Europe, there is, if you follow it, you can conclude something very important, that there is a little enthusiasm or something you can call, maybe I have the quotation from that